Most love letters promise forever. This handwritten terms of service agreement starts with a guarantee of failure. It practices radical honesty, not the weaponized kind used to be cruel, but a quieter, harder act, refusing to promise a safety that a human being simply cannot provide. The author admits that they are going to let the reader down. Good intentions won't matter. It is an airtight, unflinching acceptance of human limits. Strangely, this absolute certainty creates a unique kind of trust. By naming the boundaries of their reliability, the writer makes the reader deeply vulnerable, yet entirely secure in knowing exactly what the relationship can withstand. The writer builds momentum on unshakable confidence with shared certainties. You know I will, and we don't remember birth. But at the climax, the tone fractures. Delivering the heaviest truth, that we won't remember our passing, the writer abruptly steps back with two words: I think. Why undermine a brutal, unblinking confession with a hesitant ending? Right when the reader requires the most stability, the author blinks. That tiny, sudden void of certainty is intentional. It forces us to step back from the raw emotion of the page to examine the massive, almost comedic intellectual architecture built to defend it. To understand why those two words are sitting there, we have to look at the elaborate defense mechanism operating behind the scenes. Think back to 1619, when René Descartes locked himself in a room and discovered the one philosophical truth he felt could not be doubted: I think, therefore I am. Notice the fine print. Descartes' formula makes existence a consequence of thinking. In modern enterprise software terms, existence is a dependent service, and anyone who builds systems knows that dependent services can usually be turned off. This turns human consciousness into a pricing structure. Most humanity coasts on the free tier, existing perfectly fine, completely excused from existential dread. Then there's the premium plan. You get verified existence, but it comes bundled with heavy side effects, like the terror of mortality. Viewing human awareness as a subscription model solves a major problem. It turns I think into an optional feature. It is not a mandatory law of the universe. It is a service you can choose to cancel. This brings us back to the end of the poem. The phrase, I think, acts as a brilliant legal loophole for the author's claim about death. If the page ended with a full stop after, we won't remember death, it would be a bare assertion. It would become rigid dogma. The writer would have to aggressively defend that atheistic claim against every major religion forever. By tacking on, I think, the writer downgrades the dogma into a wager. They are printing their exact confidence interval directly on the ticket. This places the author and the Pope standing at the exact same metaphorical customs desk. The Pope's operation runs on the phrase, I believe. The poet's runs on, I think. Neither of them is allowed to use the words, I know. The only witnesses qualified to verify what happens after death are permanently unavailable for comment. This elegant intellectual armor does a fantastic job of explaining away the messy, painful emotions on the handwritten page. It leaves us safely and cleanly amused by the philosophy. This level of analysis is a relief. It lets us convert a raw disclosure into an artifact we can examine safely from a distance. But once the architecture is built, we have to return to the actual gradient of the page. The writer begins by establishing a shared certainty with the reader about a future that hasn't happened yet. That reliability is reinforced by the second claim, the universal first-person fact that we do not remember our own birth. The pattern trains us to expect a third, equally solid fact. But at the moment of maximum existential need, the truth about death, the writer withdraws that certainty. They offer a hedge instead. The structure of the poem enacts the very letdown described in the first stanza. A radically honest contract regarding human failure must structurally fail its reader to be true. This revelation forces us to look at those final two words one last time. I think is not a failure of nerve, and it isn't a clever philosophical trick to dodge a debate. It is an act of profound hospitality. It is a quiet refusal to lie to someone you love by pretending you're infinite or absolute. True intimacy is not found in making impossible, unbreakable promises. It is found in having the courage to share the fragile, inevitable fine print of being mortal.